absolutely terrified. Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. Irene's a little taller than I am. As Irene said, my name is Stephanie Koropatnick. I'm a teacher in Vancouver, special education teacher, and I'm also on the executive of the Cross Currents, the SEA, our Provincial Specialist Association. And last week we had our annual gathering, Cross Currents Conference, which brought together teachers from across the province who work with students and youth with special needs. We're special education teachers, we're learning assistance teachers, resource teachers, classroom teachers, and related professionals. We are the frontline, on-the-ground professionals who provide direct service to the children of the province with special needs. And we love it. 10 years ago, our jobs were challenging but satisfying as we applied our specialized training to improving the educational experience of students with a wide variety of special needs such as hearing loss, blindness and other physical challenges, cognitive delays, emotional, behavioral and social disorders, autism, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and learning disabilities in its many and varied forms. 10 years ago, the BC Liberal government stripped our contract in ways that forced us to expand our specialties to encompass an ever-increasing number of children whose needs fell beyond our expertise. These included English as a second language, fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, complex developmental behavior disorders, chronic health conditions, to name just a few. 10 years ago, the Liberal government slashed targeted funding to several categories of special needs, representing thousands of children with learning disabilities and behavioral difficulties. Hundreds of special education positions across the province were eliminated, resulting in skyrocketing caseload numbers for those of us remaining. Service levels dropped proportionately. While the number of children designated with special needs remains high, we're also expected to provide support for the huge number of yet-to-be designated students with learning difficulties, as well as the insultingly named gray area learners, students who are really struggling in school, but who do not qualify for any funded support. Today, there are 700 fewer special education teachers in BC than a decade ago. Many experienced specialists feeling overwhelmed and unsupported have left resource rooms for other positions, classrooms in other provinces, on stress leave, or on early retirement. This has left the increasingly impossible to perform special education positions to be filled by entry-level teachers with limited or no experience and training to deal with the ever-increasing demands. It has left children and youth with special needs with less and less support. Classroom teachers feeling increasingly marooned in classrooms filled to the brim with ever more complex and perplexing needs. This decline in support for students with special needs also has a profound effect on the other children in the classroom. Their needs are inevitably compromised by the demands of children whose special needs cannot be ignored, undermining the myriad and very real advantages of inclusive classrooms. It's against this backdrop that we look at the current legislation. Far from restoring the resources which have been so cavalierly withheld from our children for the past decade, Bill 22 further threatens our ability to meet the needs of our most vulnerable learners. The Education Minister often refers to the investment of $165 million in the so-called Learning Improvement Fund, included in the budget tabled last week. In reality, this fund will only put $20 million more into schools next year, representing less than a net zero improvement in learning conditions for our students. But even $165 million in additional funding is a mere drop in the bottom of a very dry bucket in terms of returning to the levels of funding that existed for students with special needs prior to the illegal contract stripping of 2002. For many years now, special education services in BC schools have had no more room for cuts, There is no more fat, no more flesh. Indeed, there is barely any bone left from which to cut. Any further cuts to funding for children with special needs in BC schools threaten to fundamentally dismember the entire foundation of support for students with special needs. Difficult to perform roles will become even more impossible, and our children will pay the price. When Minister Abbott tells CBC listeners children with special needs are receiving the support they need, he's both right and wrong. He is right in that children with special needs often receive support because their teachers are by nature over-functioning, capable, and caring professionals who daily go above and beyond. To perform miracles by juggling, borrowing, and fabricating out of whole cloth the means to provide the needed support. Classroom teachers and special education teachers perform feats of magic daily, every single day, with inadequate resources and time. We put our hearts and souls into our jobs, and it is demeaning, disheartening, and downright insulting to be treated in this disgraceful manner. We care deeply about our students, and it hurts our hearts to know that we cannot give them everything they need to be successful contributing members of our society. Minister Abbott is wrong if he thinks that the resources being provided by the government are either sufficient or available. Sloganeering about more for less is disingenuous. Less is less, plain and simple. The Liberal government, in its claim to be protecting future generations from debt, is imposing a massive deficit on those future generations today. Not only is this insensitive and unjust, it is not cost-effective. Children today are paying the price of a decade worth of cuts to special education services. Children with special needs today need and deserve significant improvements in the resources and support to ensure their future success. All 600 teachers who attended our conference Thursday and Friday, as well as the thousands who stand here today, as well as on picket lines all around the province, care deeply about these kids. We work with them, laugh and cry with them and their families every day. And today, we're taking a stand for them.
Thanks, Stephanie. I know that there are many of you out there, who have come from outside of the Greater Victoria area. Some of you